Well, for me, it was, I was running the stadium off-road cars, and it just pretty much getting to know people and other types of racing and getting connected and just following, I guess, a passion and your dream. Um, at that time when I was running the Mickey Thompson Series, a guy who worked for actually Mickey Thompson or MTEG at that time was no longer a part of being an official. He kind of went on his own to do more just like motorsports management. And that was kind of like one of his first clients. And as I was developing as a driver and wanted to take my program to the next level, just, not just being a driver out there, but being a competitor, a champion and a winner, that he just kind of changed the direction of what I need to focus on, try to help me be more media savvy, more interaction with just the whole sport itself, as well as honing your driving skills. So for me at that time, I just out of dirt bikes then into an off-road car, he suggested for me to go in and start doing racing schools. So I went to the Jim Russell Racing School up at Laguna Seca and went through their whole driving program. And so from there, I just started meeting other drivers, other mechanics, and people around that. And of course, they are all connected with other forms of motorsports, and it just that whole networking, And at that time, both Casey Mears and Clint Mears, they were running the Mickey Thompson Series as well. But when I went there, because they had a Jim Russell Series, or Jim Russell School, they had their own racing series, or they had to have lapping days where you take their pro cars out and just run laps all day. So after I went through the driving course and driving program, I would just go up there on the weekend and run laps on the hot lap days. And I ran into like Casey Mears and Clint Mears there, and they were doing the same thing. So it was kind of like, it just getting that driving skills of road racing and just, open wheel cars. And it just kind of, for me, as I was still doing the off-road stuff, I was transitioning over to do more road racing. And I started doing some, like the Dodge Shelby Can-Am Pro Series in 94. I did that, I think 93 and 94. And I was like just toying with other series, other cars, and just testing and driving, and just ended up in the F2000 series once the Mickey Thompson Series went away, because I think they folded in 95. So at that time, I was just kind of like, all right, well, off-roading is kind of like, that series went away, so I got to look at other options. So that kind of probably much made me make that decision to go more towards what I want to do, and that was open wheel. And so that's when I joined the 1000 series.
That's really interesting, man. So who's your biggest racing hero if you had to pick?
Biggest racing hero? Wow, you know what? As a kid watching racing, and just like, before I got involved with racing, I always like Johnny Rutherford, and Floyd, the legends, those guys. So, and watching the Andretti's and everything, and even like when I was racing myself, I would watch like Robbie Gordon, and like Paul Tracy and those guys, because that I just like how they are as competitors, So I mean, I guess they're the badass group, so to say. They're like all balls to the wall, go big or go home, so to say. They race, elbows up all day, the whole race and everything. And, like you asked earlier and everything, growing up and everything, getting into IndyCar and seeing like how now I'm friends with all those guys. It's kind of, it's sitting back today and thinking back, it's kind of like, those people who I looked up to as a young kid, before I was 10, now I'm friends with all of them. It's kind of amazing. You know, Obviously, with Rick Mears, with his success, on ovals, he's like the oval king.
Yeah, for sure. Were you around to meet Jimmy Johnson before he went into NASCAR?
Yeah, well, I've been friends with Jimmy since he was like 15.
Ooh.
When he was really young, and he just started the Mickey Thompson Off Road Series, and I knew his dad. I think before he started that, because his dad was one of the main guys at BF Goodrich, which they did all the like the tire support, whatever, for Mickey Thompson and or just off road racing in general. And the guys who worked on my off road cars back then were good friends with them, and with Bob Gordon and Robbie Gordon, and just that whole inner circle of SoCal off road people. And so, like, yeah, no, Jimmy and I we were good friends back in the day and running the whole Mickey Thompson series. And so, yeah, Casey Mears and Clint Mears and Robbie Gordon. Just yeah, that's a small circle of like I said, people racers that came out of that series, and we're all raced together at one point in time, and just had a lot of good times.
Good to hear. Is Baja Bob still around, or what's he been up to?
Baja Bob.
Robbie Gordon's dad?
No, I was gonna say, is that Robbie Gordon's dad? Because I kind of forgot like what they call him. No, Bob Gordon. He's passed away.
Oh, that's tough. I heard good things about him.
Yeah, it's a tragic situation. I mean, in that whole ordeal, unexpected tragic deal. But I think that was 5 years ago. I think.
Oh, 5. Yeah, I might have heard about it, but I don't remember for sure. I may have heard something like that in the past, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, what other big names have you met in racing?
Ah, pretty much everyone. Everyone just At one point in time, we all crossed paths. The newer guys today, I don't really know much.
Hmm.
Both like in IndyCar and NASCAR. Like this generation. Yeah, I don't really know really a whole lot of them. I mean, because it's like I said, I was running back in the 2000s, the 90s and 2000s, and you meet some of them when they were younger, then they're all older. I mean, you see like how Tony Stewart's now retired. Just that whole generation from the 2000 guys and 2010, a lot of them are now like late 40s. You know, like your Casey Kanes and those guys, they're all like gone, and like what Martin Truex Jr. is still there, but I mean, he's like what 45 or something.
I think he's in his early 40s, and he's been contemplating retirement from what I understand. And Kyle Busch is still there, and he's nearing his 40s. And I think Kurt Busch retired too, and so did Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, although he's semi-retired. And I think also there was Tony Stewart retiring and Ryan Newman retiring and being Ryan, though, is competing in the Superstar Racing Experience and is driving in that series as the champion.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot of those guys during my time and everything. They're all retiring now, and so like I said, even like with IndyCar, I mean, the older guys I know, like Helio and them, but the younger ones I don't really know.
Yeah. Do you know Marco Andretti at all?
Marco, I met along probably once, I think a long time ago. But I don't know him like personally or anything like that.
Uh,
or I mean, because he was young back then, you know, very young when I was right. I mean, he's probably like 4 years old. I mean, you know,
Wow.
it's like Hurtis, like Brian Hurtis' kid, you know, Colton Hurta. When I was running, he was like 4 years old or something like that. Just a little kid running around in the you know in the paddock with his dad.
Yeah, for sure. What's your pick between Days of Thunder and Talladega Nights?
What's that again?
What's your favorite choice between Days of Thunder or Talladega Nights? Like, which of those are your favorite?
I don't know. Maybe Talladega Nights because it's a comedy. The Days of Thunder is it's good in its own way, I guess. I mean, as a driver, you sit there and watch these movies like that. That's trying to be see because Days of Thunder is trying to be serious, you know, trying to show what racing's about. But to people within the industry, just kind of sit there, shake their head, and laugh. So I guess it could be on a comedy level on us to a fan or spectator. They might you know see it differently than like a driver would. So like Talladega Nights, it's a comedy, kind of like a spoof on racing, and kind of like over exaggerated in comical ways to where a driver like me can sit there and just laugh and enjoy it. I mean, it's kind of like you can kind of say, what do you like better? Do you like Driven or do you like Days of Thunder better? You know, because even Driven, I mean, Stallone, yeah.
So, what are your hopes for the future?
Hopes for the future as far as what? Just in motorsports in general, or just
Motorsports.
motorsports? Um, just for to keep you know being entertaining. You know, there's a lot of things that have changed over the years. I mean, obviously, money is a huge thing. You know, just what it costs to go race these days. Um, and then of course, you know, sanctioning bodies, you know, they have their issues every now and then. You know, they split or threaten to split, and you know, like IMSA and CART and IRL, and you know, so if they could just always find a common ground to keep it, because all they're doing is hurting their sport, as we've seen in the past, and now they're all trying to rekindle themselves. Um, I don't know. I think they need to make changes today. And today's it's a strange world today with everything. Because not so much just in racing, but it's expensive for the fans to go see these races. You know, I remember back in the '90s, the '80s, or whatever. You know, for a cup race, there's families would go out camping like all week for a cup race and watch it, and almost like every weekend in the summer, or at least like maybe go see 5 or 6 races. But now it's so expensive for them to go; they may just go one or two. I mean, you can see that now, obviously, with the dwindling in attendance, and IndyCar as well too. I mean, it's the same thing. You know, you don't have the families that travel weekend to weekend to go check out the races because it's just expensive for tickets and camping and all that stuff. But in today's world, it's also expensive to drive. You know,
Yeah.
just economy in the U.S. and everything is kind of hindering that as well. So it's making it difficult or to travel to these events. So, you know, love them or hate them with road courses in like with NASCAR and everything. I do think that Chicago race. I've always said that NASCAR should do street races. If they're not going to go to the track, bring the track to them. Is how I kind of see it. And if that's the way how to do it, you know, bring it to them. Do more of those road races.
Yeah,
Street
for
court.
sure.